Hello and welcome to yet another episode of the CN podcast. I am Vineet Ramakrishnan and joining me is Rudransh Khurrana. There's a lot to unpack in this episode. The IPL is done and dusted, but the celebrations, the post-event celebrations, the aftermath of it still lingers on. An unfortunate incident where 11 people lost their lives because of the felicitation ceremony. Their lack of preparedness or just poor planning, a lot of people are being blamed, be it the RCB, the KSCA, or the Karnataka government, or all of them. So let's start from there itself. June 3rd, a joyous moment for the RCB fans, but merely 15 hours later, at the end of it, or rather, even before the felicitation ceremony could start, we had a stampede right outside the stadium. 11 people, as I said, dead. Rudransh, lack of preparedness, lack of planning, or is it just a case where victory parades in India at such a short notice just doesn't work?
It doesn't work. That is for sure. I know a lot of people are citing the T20 World Cup parade. How it was successful in Mumbai. It wasn't successful. It was just there were no lives lost. People were still there was people. A lot of people still faced a lot of difficulties. It was not reported, and it was not reported enough under the whole blanket of the celebrations. But here it was it spiraled into something much more tragic, and it had to be reported. That's why it was reported. So yeah, it doesn't work without the needed the what we don't understand right now in India. There are several moving parts in such kind of parades. For example, I think it's also because our sportspersons see England and see how they celebrate their achievements in parades, especially in Premier League, in football. But those are done after a meticulous planning, after taking so many permits. They have extreme amount of permits. So, for example, last season when Arsenal Manchester City were playing, the season went till the last day. Both were in contention, so both had to take the permits. Although one team was much less likely to win the tournament, but they both took the permits, entirety of it, so that if all of it was planned and there were no mishaps or anything, and that went perfectly fine. That it has been going on pretty well for many years. So yeah, I we are talking, as you said, it has become very political. It has Everyone is blaming each other, but I think the only way forward is getting a proper investigation done. There is a lot of confusion. Did the police agree? Did the police not agree? Did the government agree? Did the government not agree? How many functions were there? How many people were there? What was the capacity? What was the preparedness? Were the police ready? Were the police not ready? What gates were open? What gates were not open? Who instigated it? Were there any hooligans involved? Were there any people who were actually trying to create a fuss or create a chaos? Were such people involved? There are a lot of moving parts, and it requires a thorough investigation, and not these actions. Oh, blame this, arrest that. These are just moves to distract from what actually happened. These things can't happen just like that. It needs to be considered properly, so that we also avoid these things in the future. The answer is not to not have victory parades. These are part of the sport. These are important for celebrations, but it's important to have safe victory parades, and a proper investigation will tell us what went wrong and what can be done right.
Yeah, absolutely right. I mean, there needs to be investigation, but on the face value of it, you'd see, as I said, you have had a victory parade, as you mentioned, the T20 World Cup.
Yeah.
7 days later,
Yeah.
you had the victory parade of the Gujarat Titans in 2022. It was an open bus parade. Again, planned. Maybe a few days later,
Yeah.
the win. Here, the most striking part is 15 hours, not even a day, and you are saying we have a victory parade here. That too in a city like Bangalore,
Yeah.
chocker block. No, regular traffic becomes such a big issue. Just a bit of a rainfall becomes such a big issue. Having that in just mere 15 hours, you can say that the police did not give the permit, or the KSCA guys did not open the gates, or the authorities just wanted to just be part of it, trying to gain a political advantage there, whatever you can say. But from an RCB point of view, do you think they should have waited? I mean, that's fine. 17 years you have waited. You can't wait for 17 hours to have a celebration. Did that? Or we are not looking at the other aspect wherein RCB management thought, you know what, we are not going to get the players. Virat Kohli is going to fly back to London the next day. Maybe or maybe not. You had these foreign players who have their packed schedule. You are not able to get those guys again. Or is it a case where you could have done that, just needed meticulous planning, or it was something, as you call, shouldn't be the case, but spur of the moment, oh, we are there, we let's celebrate it. KSCA or the police department or the Karnataka government, they'll take care of everything. We have our players and we'll do it.
Yeah, it is complacency. They thought they are just celebrating it, and you can't take the fault of them at all, because although I am pretty sure they must have understood the kind of fanfare they are going to witness in Bengaluru, because we heard a lot of players saying, "Oh, it will really sink in when we go to Bengaluru, and
More
we
so
will see."
Virat Kohli.
Virat Kohli said it clearly that we are going to see you tomorrow, and that was the announcement. That's when it all started, and uh, they invited free passes. They said that we are the entry is free, but it's limited. That's the typical case of saying, oh, we know that 2 lakhs of you come, but only 20,000 of you will get in. Chinnaswamy has a capacity of, I think, 35,000.
35,000, yeah.
So you are saying we know that 2 lakh of you will come, or 5 lakh of you will come, but we have only 35,000 capacity, and it's first come first basis. What are you expecting? You can't expect them to not trust. You can't expect them to not fight each other for that one pass, or for those two passes. They will obviously fight for those two passes, and 5,000 people will fight for those two passes, and they should be they should consider themselves lucky that it was just 11 people, because the kind of population there was on a weekday when traffic is at its peak anyway. I have heard the police asked him to, let's do it on a weekend, so there is not much office traffic and roads aren't as congested. But they didn't want to do that, and anything could be the reason. Okay, you are saying that Virat Kohli won't be available, or these players won't be available, but their schedules are not more important than 11 lives or 20 lives or 30 lives which could have been lost. Their schedules are far, far less important than lives of people, real people who want to watch you. I am pretty sure even if you had like 10 RCB players doing a victory parade, people would have come to watch. Yeah. It doesn't matter if everyone is not involved. If they are not involved, they cannot be involved, it's their fault. You cannot risk the lives of people. You cannot ask that we will host it whenever we want, we'll just ask for permission, we'll host it, without considering the impacts it can have. And that's just lack of judgment. I think we were talking about it in another subject, but there is a lot of lack of social judgment, lack of understanding of how our country, our states, our people think, and how they plan, how they live their lives. There's a lot of lack of understanding in that. They IPL, we have I think a lot of people question of how IPL is not cricket, and how IPL is in its separate bubble, and these franchises are not helping their cases by showing that they only care about what is in their bubble. It's IPL cannot be just about cricket. Yeah. You have to think about society as a whole. You have to consider a lot of things, how our fans will react to everything, and how dangerous it could get for them. You are the ones responsible for it, and they should think more about it, and they should have thought more about it.
They should have thought a lot more about it before the event started, but there's one major criticism in terms of, you had 11 people dying outside. Yeah. The felicitation ceremony was still not on. You went ahead with that ceremony there. Virat Kohli could be very clearly seen that we need to wrap this up within 10 minutes. So something was off. Everybody knew. Yet that decision of going ahead, parading that trophy, players smiling, they would know what was happening. This is the age of social media. Nobody's preview, or nobody is like ignorant to the fact that what was happening inside. People, inside don't know what is happening outside. Everybody has phones on their hands. Social media is everywhere. That decision itself, pretty much, as you mentioned, RCB or any franchise management thinking themselves, it's our own bubble. How could they have gone ahead with that? And that, I think, that is one criticism which is probably fair, going against an RCB management or whoever planned or decided we should go ahead with it.
Yeah, it was horrible viewing, because we were sitting here, because we were getting the information that people are actually dying, and I think someone there would have not passed on that information. I think if the information was passed on that people have died, I think we could have definitely seen a change of mood in there. But I think it's the fault of those people. Somewhere the information was not passed. I think they would have the information that could have gone through at that time could have been that there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of ruckus, and they might have thought, oh, it's a good thing that people are so mad for us. Yeah, but I think somewhere there should have been an information passed that people are actually dying and we need to shut this off right now. There should be no more celebration. There should be no more smiles. Let's go back. Let's not make this any worse. It was not just a PR disaster, but it was also a huge. It just showed how irresponsible they were, and it just proved once again that they did not know how to react to these things. They were not prepared at all that something like this could happen, and they did not consider it that people could actually die. And I think it's a lack of judgment, because I remember when we were talking that RCB has won, there might be a lot of chaos in Bengaluru. We could know that, we could tell that sitting here in Delhi that there would be a lot of chaos. You could see there were signs, people were celebrating that night. There were so many people out on the street, and even asking them to gather in one area which didn't have the capacity to hold those many
Multiple
people.
areas, in fact.
Yeah, multiple areas which didn't have the capacity to hold them, which didn't have the capacity to hold lakhs of people. It was just stupid. It was actually stupid, and they are paying the price for it, and they will continue to pay the price for it. And but yeah, obviously, these guys, the 10 lakh rupees, the 25 lakh rupees, it doesn't do anything for it. The biggest price, who has paid the biggest price, is the government, is the people whose family members have died. And yeah, I don't think RCB or Bengaluru will be same for them anymore.
Absolutely. And but one more thing, Rudransh, the fact is there's also social media comes into it a lot.
Definitely.
And from that point of this thing, there's this one fall guy or blame guy, visible person, and that is Virat Kohli.
Yeah.
That kind of criticism now towards a Virat Kohli, and how the trolls and how the so-called RCB haters or the non-RCB guys are putting out some of these mindless stuff against a Virat Kohli. The social media is a dangerous place. And do you think that is fair? It cannot be fair, but how do you stop it, or how do you mitigate that thing? Because Virat Kohli is being there, with the screenshots of blood all over him, blood on his hand, and this and that. This is a national icon they are talking about. I know he's a cricketer, he's a human being, but he did not have any part of it. He was not the one who organized it. He was not the one who was, responsible to managing the crowd. Nothing of that sort. Yet it is a very, very dangerous trend that you're just putting one guy there, and the kind of comments, the kind of things that you're looking at social media, just mind-boggling.
I think honestly, you can't say that the players are not to be blamed at all. You will have to somehow draw that line, find that line, that were these statements, oh, let's meet tomorrow, we'll have a party tomorrow in Bengaluru. A lot of players said that.
Yeah.
Did that make an impact? You have to investigate that, although you cannot quantify it, but you will have to take that into consideration of what if RCB's hands were tied because their players had already announced that there will be a parade. So you have to consider those things, and Virat Kohli will be included in that definitely. But until those things are completely considered, investigated, and deliberated, and combining with other factors about how prepared was the infrastructure, how prepared was the government, how prepared was the police, until you have considered all those things, it's very easy to blame Virat Kohli, because his name sells. That's the long and short of it. You put his name on Twitter and you say that Virat Kohli is the best batter, you will get 10 likes. You will say he's the worst batter, you will get 20 likes. That because his name sells, and everyone wants engagement in today's world, and you will try to be as drastic and as different as possible to get as much engagement, and that is what's selling. I don't think you can just say that he is not to be blamed at all. And I don't think you can say that he has blood on his hands. It's a fine balance. People have died. You can't say this guy did it or that guy did it. There's a lot of parts in play, and you have to consider everything in detail with the proper investigator, with the proper thorough investigation.
Yeah, that's true. And the fact is, arrests have been made, FIRs have been filed, officials has been suspended, transferred, and whatnot. But the end of it all, what again thing is, whatever you do, this is not going to undo the 11 lives that have been
Exactly.
lost, and that is poor planning, poor management, whatever you call it, poor decision making all throughout. This will go on, but we will move on to another the next part of our conversation, and we'll look at, as I said, there are a lot to unpack, and with the IPL done and dusted, we are going into focusing towards the international cricket of it. And one of the major things that is coming up this week itself is the WTC final, World Test Championship final, the third final in its iteration there. And you won't have in India. It will be Australia versus South Africa, the reigning champions, against a South African team who topped the WTC cycle in a very compelling manner. And these two teams would be going head to head. History in the making for sure, because Australia would be looking to be the first team to retain or win back-to-back WTC titles. On the other hand, South Africa, 26 years they have waited for an ICC trophy. Rudransh, is this the year? Because this has been the year of first for everybody, including an RCB, including a Tottenham, Crystal Palace, Harry Kane. We've talked about this a lot. How do you look towards this final? Because India is not there, has the thing come down, has the buzz come down? But yet again, this is the WTC final. You're talking about the Lords, you're talking about, it's going to be a cracker, or do you think no, it is going to be one-sided?
I think it is going to be a cracker. I know the buzz won't be there as much in India, but I think people in South Africa will be very excited. People in Australia will be very excited. I heard the South African coach say that if we win, it will change the trajectory of Test cricket in our country, and that is very much possible. For Australia, it will be just another title, but for South Africa, I think it will be as big as it would have been for India winning the title. It's a huge deal. They haven't won anything since 1998, and they need to. It will be a good thing for them. But yeah, I don't think it will be a dud contest. I think it will be a very interesting one. There are two strong sides, and I'm not ruling out South Africa.
Not holding on South Africa, but let's look at man to man here. I mean, two names that come to our mind is probably a Kagiso Rabada versus Travis Head. Is that the battle that will define this test match, or do you think no, there are other factors who are coming, there are other players who would be as good as, if not as good as or better than these two?
That's a very important battle because we know how good Head is and how good he is in finals and how what he did in the last World Test
He's good
Championship
in
final.
England as well.
Yeah, good in England as well. But Rabada is not too bad either. He has, I think, a very good average. I think around 20 in Lords, and he is one of South Africa's best players. But he's coming off a lot of lot of controversy. How will he manage himself? How will, if Travis Head takes him on, what will be his reaction? These are very interesting things, and obviously the opener versus the best batter versus best bowler batter is always a tone setter in these games, and I think that is where I think Head is slightly more important than Steve Smith, and Kagiso Rabada is definitely more important than any other South African bowler.
And one last question on this WTC thing. How does Australia, or how do Australia find a way to bring in or include a Scott Boland in that 11?
Yeah, they would definitely want to, but I don't think there is a chance because see, they can always go with four paces and a line, but that won't happen. I don't think that will happen in this big a contest. That can't happen unless it's a very flat wicket. So they want to go with an extra bowler. That's a different case, but I don't think that can happen. I think it's yeah, they are so rich with the resources that they will have to keep one on. Even if you like keep Scott Boland and drop Stark, it will be your dropping Stark. If you keep Scott Boland and drop Hazelwood, it will be like you're dropping Hazelwood.
Yeah.
So I don't think. I think despite how brilliant he is, we know how brilliant Scott Boland is. He will have to be okay with the bench this time.
So one final question on this: your take on who's taking it, Australia or South Africa?
Year of first, South Africa.
South Africa. Yeah, I'm also putting my name on the South Africa. So with that, WTC from June 11th to till 15th, there's also a reserve day. It'll be very interesting to see who takes that crown. Australia, as Rudransh said, won another title for them, or South Africa their first title in over, since 1998, that would be like 4 decades or
Yeah.
something. That'll be historic in itself. But there's also another team in England, and from reports, the latest reports, we are seeing that Australia, who are in the part of the final, have been shooed away because India is there, and not just India. India is also there. India is also there, and let's talk about that. A big tour for India as well. Start of a fresh WTC cycle. There is no Virat Kohli. There is no Rohit Sharma, Shubman Gill, the captain. But before that, India A. They are playing their second unofficial test by the time we have this podcast out. Both the two unofficial tests would be over, and one of the biggest takeaways, definitely Rudransh, is Karun Nair, 204 in the first unofficial test. We've been looking at places there. There are others as well in terms of Rahul flew back in, got a century, got a 50. Abhimanyu Ishwaran did not have the greatest of first unofficial test. Second, he has a 250 to his name. From a batting perspective, Jaiswal is a big worry. What more is there, from in terms of what you can read from those two unofficial test matches?
I think for me there's a one big positive and there's a one big drawback, one big worry. The big positive is that Karun Nair and Rahul have both gotten off to a good start. For me, I think both of them are going to be in my playing 11. I know a lot of people want Sai Sudarshan in, but he hasn't played either of the India A matches, and these two guys have, and I think I'll go with them. Unless Sai Sudarshan does something great in the inter-squad game, I'll keep him. I'll keep him away for now. I'll keep him on the bench for now. I'll hold off his debut for now. The worrying thing is Shardul Thakur and Nitish Kumar Reddy, both, they haven't been among the wickets. They haven't even looked slightly as good as we would have wanted them to be.
Both have an economy of over, I think, 4.5.
Yeah,
both of them.
Yeah, they are being lined up by young English batters, and that's not a good sign because India will need a fourth seamer to do well there. They will want They will want their three frontline places plus an all-rounder. I know a lot of people thought that it's as straightforward as that Nitish Kumar Reddy played in Australia. These conditions will suit him better. Let's play him. But Shardul Thakur has a good record here, good batting record here as well. It is tricky, but neither of them are helping their case. They could have used this opportunity to just get a good knock away or get a fifer. These were these were players they could have challenged for a fifer, and I think they just haven't grabbed their opportunities. That's a worry for me.
And also Yashasvi Jaiswal, 4 innings, 110 runs. The manner in which he's getting out, he's showing that aggressiveness. And I was looking at one of those tweets saying that I think Jaiswal has still not come out of his IPL mode there, the way he's going about it. Jaiswal could be a worry there for you in terms of this is going to be his first England tour, if I'm not wrong. We have seen him, on flat tracks, Indian subcontinent track. Australia, we have seen him, how good. But England is quite different. Biggest challenge for him yet in his very nascent international career, and how do you see him taking on this challenge? Because in Australia, you saw the ball was coming onto the bat, lateral movement was there, but swing is a different ball game altogether.
It is a bigger challenge because he doesn't have Rohit Sharma anymore.
Yeah.
When he started, he had Rohit Sharma, same state player, senior to him, could help him. Similar kind of stories. And he's the senior opener. Even if Rahul comes in, even if Karun Nair opens, even if Sai Sudarshan opens, he'll be the senior opener. So he has a bit more responsibility. These fluctuations of him going too aggressive, going too defensive, that is slightly worrying. I agree. Yeah. He hasn't been able to find that consistency in tempo, that this is how he plays. He tries to do a lot of things, sometimes too much for my liking, but let's see how it goes. Swing, I think his batting, it's just my opinion, I think his batting is more suited to England than Australia. I think he has a technique to deal with swing more than he has a technique to deal with that bouncy seam movement. I think he will be able to do it. It's just about temperament and what is going on here. I think if his mind is at the right place, then we can see a good series from him despite him not being in form. But if the mind is not right, which could be because there are a lot of things going on, Goa, Mumbai, where he's going, where he's not going, does he want captaincy now, what is happening, we don't know. If this is in the right place, then I think we'll see a good series. If this is not in the right place, then I'll be worried.
And at the end of it, maybe Yashasvi Jaiswal could be the key by the end of the England
Yeah.
series. You have a Gill, you have a lot of other players, KL Rahul, you have a Jasprit Bumrah. But I think if Jaiswal gets a good season, good series in at least India would be able to challenge England. That
Yeah.
might be the case, because England, remember, their bowling attack isn't the strongest. Also, at
Yeah.
least in the first test with no Jofra Archer. Jofra Archer coming back in, how we don't know how much that would change. Chris Woakes did play the unofficial test. He's the leading wicket taker with 5 there, so he's getting his warm up pretty much on. Khalil Ahmed from India's part has the highest wickets with 4 wickets, but very unlikely that he'll be part of that. So before we end this, let's look at the India series in itself. June 20th it starts, and you did talk briefly, Rudransh, about Sai Sudarshan may not play, Karun Nair should be there, KL Rahul should be there. Let's look at the lineup there. I'm looking at a Jaiswal, maybe a KL Rahul.
Yeah.
Number 3 is you're up for grabs. You have a Shubman Gill at 4.
Four.
4 and 3, how do you put it? Karun Nair at 5 or Karun Nair at 3?
I think I'll go with Karun Nair at 3 maybe, because he has batted a lot in the top order. I don't think I won't put it past him. I think you need someone nicely experienced there at number 3. So I'll go with him at 3, and I think Shubman Gill is good enough to bat at number 4. If you want to put Sai Sudarshan, then yeah, Sai Sudarshan at 3 and Karun Nair at 5. But yeah, I'll go with Karun Nair at 3.
And I'm thinking maybe somebody like a Dhruv Jurel at number 5.
That's what I'm thinking, exactly.
Because he also had a good
Three consecutive 50s.
3 consecutive 50s, 200 plus runs in the 2 unofficial tests. So Dhruv Jurel could be that wild pick where you could see number 5. You need somebody who gives you solidity there. Maybe Sai Sudarshan could miss out. The bowling pretty much sorted in the sense whenever your first choice players come back in a Jasprit Bumrah, in a Mohammad Siraj, no Mohammad Shami. So who are you looking at that first change bowler and maybe that 4th or 5th bowling options?
I think Prasidh Krishna is the most obvious choice for the third pacer. He played in Australia and he was your third seamer there. I don't trust Harshit Rana to be the third seamer here, because we have seen he hasn't done quite well in India. Prasidh Krishna is coming off an excellent IPL season and he'll be rearing to put up a good performance. I think we are going to see, from whatever reports, it's my prediction, but whatever reports come from the India intra-squad game, I think we'll see Prasidh Krishna would have picked like 3 or 4 wickets, and he'll straight away be the third seamer.
So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. June 20th is the date. We will see the Indian team, a young Indian team with the Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli era gone. Thank you, Rudransh, for all your insights and inputs as well. And with that, that's the close of yet another episode of the CN podcast. As I said, there was a lot to unpack. Tragedy, the IPL celebration aftermath, but a lot to look forward to as well from an international cricket point of view as well. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll be back again. We'll be back more often with the IPL madness gone. International cricket we can focus on. This is once again Vineet Ramakrishnan signing off alongside Rudransh Khurrana. Thank you for tuning in.